Hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope everyone is okay today. We are broadcasting here from Ireland, and we have a beautiful day here. My name is Samanta Alves. I just wanted to make sure everything is working fine, and I'm just checking my phone here to make sure it is working, but it seems that it is. So I hope you guys can see me and can hear me. But if you can know that everything is working, I believe it is. I will continue, but please give me just a thumbs up just to make sure everything is okay. Just want to make sure, because in my phone it seems to be working, but I just want to make sure you guys are also seeing me and hearing me okay. So good morning, Ligiani. Thank you so much for being here with us. Good morning again to you all. Thanks, Ligiani, for letting me know that it is working and everything is fine. So again, thank you so much for being here, guys. As I said, my name is Samanta Alves. I am one of the volunteers in the Spiritist Center of Ireland, and I'll be your host today for this talk. Our talk today won't be too long. I just want to talk about one idea, and I'm going to use the Spirit's book and the Gospel as well to help me with these ideas, because it's kind of new to me as well, and it's not that easy to explain. So I didn't want to make any mistakes. That's why I want to use the words of the Spirit to help us out this morning. Also, for us to start, I am going to do our initial prayer. So if you guys want to close your eyes and to raise your thoughts to Jesus, get a deep breath. Let's connect with the good spirits, with God, with our mentors, the mentors of the Spiritist Society of Ireland. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this morning. Thank you so much for being alive and having the opportunity to experience so many great things here on earth. Thank you for this beautiful day, for this beautiful sunshine that we have today here in Ireland. And I hope that everything is okay everywhere you guys are. Let's ask for inspiration so we can learn a little bit more this morning about the Spiritist doctrine and everything that God wants us to learn, so we can evolve and become better spirits. So be it. Okay, so today we are going to talk about evolution. I am going to share my screen. Let me see. Let me try. Yes, okay. I think it is working fine. So, as I mentioned, today we are going to talk about evolution. And in that sense, I want to, as I mentioned, use the words of the spirits. So let's start with question 115 from the Spirit's book, just so we can get a fair idea of evolution. So I'm just here with my book. Let me find question 115. There we have it. And the question is, Have some spirits been created good and others bad? And the answer from the spirits is God has created all the spirits simple and ignorant, without knowledge. God has given each of them a mission. It is aimed at enlightening them and progressively leading them toward perfection through knowledge of the truth in order to draw them near to God. In that perfection, they will find eternal bliss without any troubles. Spirits acquire knowledge by experiencing the trials that God has imposed on them. Some humbly accept these trials and thus arrive more quickly at their destiny, whereas others cannot endure them without complaining. Thus, through their own fault, these latter ones remain far from the perfection and bliss promised to them. Then Kardec asks the spirits also, then are all spirits at their origin ignorant and inexperienced like children, who gradually acquire the knowledge they lack by passing through the different phases of human life? And the answer from the spirits is yes, that is an accurate comparison. How much children improve depends on their behavior. Rebellious children remain ignorant and imperfect. However, human life has an ending, whereas that of spirits go on forever. So it gives us a fair idea of the law of progress. And the law, because the law of progress or the law of evolution is a law of nature. And it gives us a very good understanding of how we were made. So basically, we were made simple and ignorant. So it was, if we could use this analogy, it was like we were like a blank page. And then with our experiences, we acquire knowledge. And by this knowledge, we can improve ourselves. So we can choose to be and that's the analogy that the spirits used, or Kardec initiated. So is it like when we were a child, we learn things and then we grow up and we get maturity over time? And the spirits answered, yeah, that is a fair comparison. And the main difference is that the human life ends and that of the spirits doesn't. So in terms of if we think about our evolution as a spirit, we can say that we are going to evolve because this is a law, but we can choose to not evolve like a child. If they can be rebellious and they can say, I don't want to evolve, and then in this case, if they continue rebellious, they are going to stay at that level. Even if they grow up, they will stay at that level of immaturity. And us as spirits, we can do the same. But that's a pity because we want to evolve, and we are going to understand why in this talk today, hopefully. So, as I mentioned, progress is a law of nature. All beings of creation, be they animated or not, have been submitted to this law by the generosity of God, who wishes everything to prosper, that's a difficult word, and to enhance. So even acts of destruction, which appears to man to be the end of everything, is only a means of reaching a more perfect state through transformation, seeing that everything dies only to be reborn again, and nothing is annihilated. So there's a saying that says nothing is new, everything is transformed. So it's kind of that idea. So this is basically what I just mentioned. So, in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 3, I want to show this to you guys as well. Chapter 3, item 19. So, we have it. I have here my book with me. So, this is the book. If you guys want to see the book, we have those books in our website, so I'm going to share the link with you guys later. So this is the other one, the Spirits book, if you guys want to know what books I am working with today. So chapter 3, item 19. This chapter, or basically, no, actually, this text is called The Progression of Worlds. And it says in item 19, progress is one of the laws of nature. All animate and inanimate beings of creation are submitted to it by the goodness of God, who wills for everything to grow and prosper. Death, which to humans appear to be the end of things, is only a means of reaching a more perfect state through transformation, since everything dies in order to be reborn. So this is the idea that we were working with. Everything is reborn, and it has to do with reincarnation as well. So we will leave Earth, but we'll certainly reincarnate again to have the opportunity to progress and to perfect ourselves. So Allan Kardec explains here, as I just mentioned, that living beings progress morally. So the worlds in which they live progress materially. If we were to accompany a world during its different phases, so say for instance, the Earth was created, there was this big bang, and so many transformations happened. And if we were going to accompany this transition through these different phases, from the first instant the atom into its construction began to agglomerate, we would see it traveling along on a constantly progressive scale. And although these steps would be imperceptible to each generation, it would offer us, Earth inhabitants, a more agreeable home as these generations passed, according to the manner in which they themselves advanced along their pathway to progress. So nothing in nature remains stationary. So we find that together with men, the animals, the vegetables, and the planet itself are all constantly marching along parallel to one another. So we are, as spirits in this planet, and also our human species, we are progressing together with the planet itself. And also in the Spirits magazine of, if I am not mistaken, April 1864, in the text titled Progression, is a progression of the terrestrial globe, something like this. Allan Kardec says that not only God's human personnel, but all his mineral, vegetable, and animal productions, his gases, and his imponderable fluids must also be perfected and transformed into more purified substances. And as the spirit progresses morally, it dematerializes itself. That is, it becomes less susceptible to the influence of matter. It purifies itself. Its life becomes spiritualized. Its faculties and perceptions are extended. Its happiness is by reason of accomplished progress. But as it acts by virtue of its free will, it can, by negligence or bad desire, hold up its advanced advancement as well. So when I say it, I mean the spirit. And it prolongs, therefore, the duration of its material incarnations, which become then for it a punishment, because you're going to be in that state for a very long time. Since by his own fault it remains in the inferior ranks, obliged to recommence the same task. So it depends then upon the spirit to shorten by its work of self-purification the duration of the period of its incarnation. Because as I mentioned, by the time we purify ourselves, we become dematerialized. So the more we are purified, the less we need our body, the less we need material things, a material body, or to be in the material world. And the more happy we are. So we experience happiness by being purified. And that state of constant happiness is what we want. And in the Genesis chapter 11, items 26, I think, or 28, Allan Kardec explains that when the spirits have acquired in a world the same degree of progress as the state of that world, they leave this world in order to dwell upon another more advanced, where they acquire new knowledge and so on, until the incarnation in a material body is no longer of use to them. Therefore, they then live exclusively in spiritual life, where they still progress in other ways and by other means. So they arrived at the culminant point of progress, they enjoy supreme happiness. They have almighty thoughts and become God's messengers, his ministers for the government of the world, having under their responsibility spirits of various degrees of advancement. So when we are at this point, at the culminant point of progress, we help other spirits that are not there yet. And just to exemplify all of those things, there are a few questions in the Spirit's book. I'm going to take the Spirit's book again. That combined can give us a better understanding of the law of progress. So in the Spirit's book, question 118, let's get this question, 118. It says, can spirits regress? And the answer from the spirits is no. As they progress, they gain an understanding of what is holding them back from perfection. When a spirit finishes a particular trial, it never forgets the knowledge it acquired. A spirit may remain stationary, but it never regresses. And also in question 778, 778. And this chapter 8 of the Spirit's book, is basically all about the law of progress. The title of the chapter is the law of progress. So then Kardec asks in question 778, could humankind regress back to the state of nature? And the answer is no. Humankind must progress without ceasing, and it cannot return to the state of infancy. It progresses because God has willed it. Believing that it could regress back to its primitive condition would be denying the law of progress. So the purpose of the soul is the development of all its faculties. In order to achieve this, it is obliged to incarnate a great number of times on earth in order to awaken its moral and intellectual faculties, and it learns to master and govern matter. It is through an uninterrupted evolution from the most rudimentary forms of life to the human condition, that the thinking principle slowly conquers its individuality. And I talked about this principle, the intelligent principle, in my last talk. If you guys want to understand it maybe a little bit more, it was a few weeks ago. And the intelligence principle is basically the spirit. So as I just mentioned, from the most rudimentary forms of life to the human condition, that the thinking principle slowly conquers its individuality. So having attained this stage, it's necessary to make its spirituality accelerate, dominating the remaining instincts of its passage through the lower forms in order to rise in the series of transformations to ever higher destinies. So it would be absurd to think that we would regress the same way as we could think that an old person could become a child again. So it's the law of nature. It's not possible. It's not designed to be this way. And to continue our study, we can see in question 606, Kardec asks, where do the animals get the intelligent principle that comprises the particular kind of soul with which they are endowed? And it says, from the universal intelligent element. Then the intelligence of both humans and animals emanates from a single principle, Kardec continues, and the Spirit answers, of course, but in humans it goes through a development that elevates it above that of the animals. So we are different because we are thinking beings. And in question 613, Kardec asks, however erroneous might be the idea linked to metempsychosis, couldn't it be a result of the intuitive sentiment of the different existences of an individual? And the answer from the Spirit, we recognize such an intuitive sentiment in this belief as in many others, but like most intuitive ideas, humans have perverted it. So metempsychosis would be correct if one understood it to mean the progression of the soul from a lower to a higher state, accomplishing the developments that will transform its nature. However, it is erroneous in the meaning of direct transmigration from the animal to the human and vice versa, which would imply the idea of regression or fusion. And since such fusion is not possible between corporeal beings of two different species, we have an indication of their being of degrees that cannot assimilate each other. And the same must apply to the spirits that animate them. If the same spirit could animate them alternatively, it would result in an identity of nature, and this would translate into the possibility of material reproduction. On the contrary, the incarnation taught by the spirits is founded upon the evolutionary march of nature and the progression of humans within their own species, which in no way diminishes their dignity. What degrades them is the bad use they make of the faculties God has given them for their advancement. Be what it may, the antiquity and universality of the doctrine of metempsychosis and the number of eminent individuals who have professed it proves that the principle of reincarnation has its roots in nature itself. These are arguments in its favor rather than against it, however. So, the spirit of man is called to greater perfection than that of animals. The difference is sensible, since in the latter it exists only in a state of instinct, and later instinct can be perfected. And just, I think, 2 more questions to show us the law of progress. If we go to question 190, we see, what is the state of the soul during its first incarnation? It resembles the state of infancy in corporeal life. Its intelligence is only beginning to unfold. It tries its hand at life. So the Spirit is constantly showing us, or Kardec, what I think is beautiful in the work of Kardec is that he kind of tries the Spirit, if you can say like that. So he asks something in a chapter, and then he goes back to that idea again in another chapter, just to see if there is constancy, or there's, what's the name, just to check, really, just to make sure what they're saying makes sense, and they won't have different answers for the same questions throughout his work with the spirits. So I find it really, really interesting. And then in question 607, we see, it has been stated that the human soul at its origin resembles the state of human infancy in the corporeal life. That is, intelligence is only beginning to unfold, and that it is preparing itself for life. So, see, he's just mentioning question 190 here. Where does the soul accomplish this primary phase? And the answer from the spirits: in a series of existences preceding the period you call humanity. And then he continues, Kardec continues, then it would seem that the soul had been the intelligent principle of the lower beings of creation, correct? And the spirits answer, haven't we stated that everything in nature is linked together and tends towards unity? It is in those beings whom you are far from knowing about entirely that the intelligence principle is developed, is gradually individualized, and is prepared for life. As we have stated, in a certain way, it is a preparatory work like that of germination, after which the intelligent principle undergoes transformation and becomes a spirit. So the spirits are over and over and over again is explaining to us that everything is evolutionary on Earth. So there are phases that, as a spirit, we go through, and we need to go through these phases so we can evolve and improve. And what we really want is to achieve this moral progress. In the Genesis chapter 11, again, Allan Kardec explains that this system, founded upon the grand law of unity, which presides the creation, is agreeable to the justice and goodness of the Creator. It gives an objective destiny to us all, including animals. So, according to the Spirit Emmanuel in O Consolador, I don't know if this book was translated to English, but O Consolador would be something like the Comforter. So Emmanuel states that mineral is attraction, the vegetable is sensation, the animal is instinct, man is reason, the angel is divinity. So let us seek to recognize the infinite bonds that unite us in the gradual values of evolution, and raise within ourselves the eternal sanctuary of universal fraternity between all the beings. or among all the beings. And also, Leon Denis also reinforces this idea, and it defines it in a poetic and naturalistic sequence. And he says, the soul sleeps in the stone, dreams in the vegetable, agitates in the animal, and wakes up in the man. So between each of these phases, there is an intermediate zone, as can be seen in scientific studies. Thus, the spirit theory of evolution considers man as a whole formed of spirit and matter. Evolution itself is presented as a dialectical process of interaction between these two primordial elements, spirit and matter. And André Luiz, as well, in the book Liberation, in chapter 1, this book was psychographed by Chico Xavier. He mentions that each species of beings, from crystal to man and man to angel, encompasses innumerable families of creatures operating a certain frequency of the universe, or at a certain frequency of the universe. And divine love reaches all in the manner of the sun that embraces the wise and the worms. And Chico Xavier, in the book Mandato de Amor, what would be Mandate of Love, says that the are gradually perfecting, that we human beings aspire to one day the angelitude in the greater life personified in our Master and Lord Jesus. They, the animals, aspire to be intelligent and free men and women in the state of nature. So there's this movie. It's actually a documentary. It's on Netflix, and it's called My Octopus Teacher, and it's such a beautiful movie. It's really interesting. So it talks about the relationship between a swimmer. What's the name? He's a diver. Scuba diver or something. It's not a scuba diver because he dives like very deep in the ocean, and he is a he is a person that studies the ocean and the creatures in the ocean, and he sees this octopus, and he wants to kind of follow the octopus and understand what it does and why it does what it does and how it does it. So he goes to the ocean every single day, and he kind of creates or he develops this bond with this octopus, and the octopus show some feeling towards him as well. So it's very beautiful, and it's surprising because you wouldn't imagine. So it could be in different states or in different levels. This relationship, maybe it's not exactly so similar, the type of so what this swimmer develops for the octopus could be a different sentiment or a different instinct, or it could be a different relationship that the octopus has towards him. But regardless, they develop this bond, and it's impressive to see. And so it's really beautiful. I recommend everybody to watch it. And if we go to question 611, just to finish this idea. So 611. No, actually, we talked about it. It's about the metemphysicosis. It's a very difficult word. That's why I said I was going to use the Spirit's book to help me today. There are some difficult theories and words here. So this idea, metemphysicosis, is the supposed transmigration at death of the soul of a human being or animal into a new body of the same or different species. So that's the idea. So just progressing further, if we go to the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 4, item 24, there is this text called The Limits of Incarnation. And it says, what are the limits? Let me just chapter 4. Yeah, exactly. So what are the limits of incarnation? Incarnation per se does not have precisely traced the limits if the term is understood as referring to the envelope that it comprises the body of the spirit. Consider the fact that the materiality of this envelope diminishes as the spirit purifies itself. On certain worlds, more advanced than Earth, the body is less compact, less heavy, and less coarse, and consequently less subject to vicissitudes. At a higher degree, it is diaphanous and almost fluid. Degree by degree, it is dematerialized and ends up melding with the perispirit. Depending on the world on which the spirit is called to live, the spirit takes on the envelope appropriate to the nature of that world. So just to finish this idea, if we go to chapter 3 and item 9, we see in worlds that have reached a highly evolved degree, the conditions of moral and material life are very different from those on earth. The corporeal form, as everywhere else, is always the human form, but embellished, perfected, and above all, purified. The body possesses nothing of earthly materiality, and consequently, it is subject neither to the needs, the diseases, nor the deteriorations that the predominance of matter endangers. So here, again, just reaffirming this idea that the more we develop, the less need we have for material things. And also, it talks about the idea that in different worlds, so basically different worlds have different states of development as well. So there's so much more for us to understand and to discover. But I want to end with this analogy. Sorry, I talked about this one. So this analogy about the progress bar. I don't know if you guys know what the progress bar is, but I think that you most probably have seen one in your life, because most of us use computers this day or even our phones, and we can see it there. So the progress bar is basically an indicator that something is occurring inside the device or the computer. And there is a TED talk by a guy called Daniel Engber. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but it's something like this. And then this talk is available on YouTube if you guys want to watch, in which he talks about the progress bar. And he develops a very interesting idea about it. And he explains that the progress bar was created in the 70s for computers, because in the 70s happened something called computer crisis, when computers were becoming more and more complicated and more complex each day. And there was this graduate student in 1985 called Brad Meyers that studied the effect it has on people's experience while sitting at the computer. And he discovered that it didn't matter if the percent done indicator was giving you the accurate percent done. What really matters is that it was there at all. So just seeing it made people feel better. And that was the most surprising thing to him. So he tested ideas. He initially he started his study with some ideas. So what this progress bar does to us, and the first idea, or one of the ideas, was like, maybe it could make people relax a bit. So instead of being bored in front of a computer, is waiting for something to happen, or for a task to be completed, you would see the progress, and it would make you be relaxed. Or maybe it would allow people to turn away from their machine and do something else during the exact time that was still to be done, showing the progress bar. So say for instance, there was still 3 minutes there for the task to be completed. You could go and, I don't know, get a coffee or make a phone call or something like this. But those things were wrong. So all of those things were actually wrong. And in fact, what he discovered is that it sort of locks your attention in a tractor beam, and it turns the experience of waiting into this exciting narrative that you're seeing unfold in front of you. So it has reconceptualized it as progress. Oh, great stuff is happening. So just the fact that you have it there and that you see that progress is being made is what we want to know. So of course we want the task to be completed, but knowing that progress is happening is already good for you. That's what you want. You want to make sure the task is being is happening there inside the computer, and it's actually progressing. So it will end in completing this task. So you know that by seeing the progress bar, you know that it will be completed sometime soon, and you have it done. So I find this idea really, really interesting, and we can compare this idea to what Spiritism shows us, which is we are going to progress, and we have this certainty, and this is already enough to us. So it doesn't really matter if it's 59% or if it's 20%. We know that we are progressing and great stuff is happening, and we'll get there, which is really, really what we really want. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, guys. I hope it wasn't too confusing. As I mentioned, it's all new to me, so I hope it made sense. If you guys have any questions, I'm just checking here. I don't see any questions, but if you have any questions, even if you don't have them now, or if you think about them later, you can send us an email, or you can send us a message through Facebook, and we can try and develop the idea with you guys. So I hope this had made sense somehow, and you guys liked it. So good morning to all of you guys. I see Linda here. Thank you so much for being here, Linda. I also see Leah here with us. Thank you, Leah. Thank you so much for being here. So you're saying was lovely, or expectations. Thank you so much, Leah. It's really good to know that you're here with us and everyone else. Thank you so much, guys. So before we finish, I just want, as always, to say to you guys that if you need help, or if especially during this time that is very challenging for all of us, so if you need to talk to somebody, or if you need any help, there's this website called yourmentalhealth.ie. So in the website you'll find a lot of information about mental health, and you can also text them. You can text YMH to 08618002828. So it's a messaging support service. And I believe it's unfortunately only for Ireland, but there are also the Samaritans. The website is samaritans.org. Their phone number is 116123, but they also have their email, which is jo@samaritans.org. So in Ireland, there's also this service by the HIC called, it's a text service. So it's only for during the COVID-19 crisis. Well, I'm not sure if they're going to continue using it in the future, but for now they have developed it and it's a it's just you just text 50808 and you can talk by text. So if you can't talk, you can use this text message service, and it's available 24/7. So this is the bibliography, but as you guys saw, it was mainly the Spirit's book, the Gospel According to Spiritism. I also used the Genesis, the Spiritist magazine, and some other books. But the big chunk is from the Spirit's book, or the biggest chunk. And I just want to check if there is any other question before we do our final prayer. Okay, I don't think there is any other question for now. So thank you so much, guys, again. Just to explain our activities, we have our public meetings in the form of lives for now, every Sunday from 11:15 a.m. to around 12 or 12:15 p.m. It's exactly this talk that we are having today. We also have talk shows in the form of lives for now, every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:15 p.m. And we have our study groups every Wednesday from 8 to 9. If you want to participate in the study groups, it's not a live session as we have here, but you can just send us a message. You can send us an email. So you have our email there. It's spiritismireland@gmail.com, or you can go to our Facebook page and send us a message there as well. And we can include you in our, or send you the link for the Zoom meeting. So that's it, guys. Let's do our final prayer. So I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Raise your thoughts to Jesus, to our mentors, to our spiritual friends. Thank you so much, dear God, for everything that we learned this morning. Thank you so much for all your teachings. It's so important to us to understand your laws so we can live our lives according to it. Thank you again for this beautiful day and for the opportunity to be here and to be alive. Thank you for all our friends, our family. Thank you for everything that happens to us in this life and all opportunities that we have to evolve. So be it. So thank you so much, guys. Have a good day. If you are in Ireland, enjoy this beautiful weather. So if you're not, I hope that you have a very good weather there as well, and a wonderful Sunday. So thank you, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.